Northern York County are concerned about tainted water this evening. More than a dozen homes in a section of Etters have bad well water. And as Denise Downer reports, state testing may reveal the contamination is more widespread.
The water straight from Peg Crompton's underground well along Deardorff Drive in Etters isn't fit to drink. It's contaminated with the suspected cancer-causing agent trichloroethylene, or TCE. 9 years ago, someone dumped the industrial solvent along Deardorff Drive when houses were under construction.
And it was here where one of the builders witnessed dumping no more than 50 feet from several houses along Deardorff Drive. But that builder doesn't know who did the dumping.
But the Cromptons aren't the only ones on the street with bad well water. 5 out of 9 residents are affected. Several of those residents have carbon filters to make the water safe to drink. But Crompton says that's not good enough.
Well, the EPA is doing an investigative study right now on how to get city water in here. With the filter system, the real estate value of our homes is diminished, and you can't sell your house.
The State Department of Environmental Resources has since tested well water on nearby streets. 12 more homes have TCE and other chemical contamination. DER says this is proof more testing is needed.
Once the material gets into the groundwater, the potential is there for it to travel a distance, and any well that would happen to be in the contaminated aquifer could start picking up these materials.
The recently found water contamination is not related to contamination on Deardorff Drive. DER has found the dump site off of Ridge Road, but doesn't know who's responsible. Crompton says there's not much residents can do without identifying a culprit. All they can do is wait for some kind of solution. Denise Downer, 27 News, Etters.
Of course, residents say they also hope that officials make sure there is no more dumping in that area by anybody. Several area utilities.
Driver faces federal and state DUI charges.
She was taking a friend from Puerto Rico.
And contaminated water is the problem in a York County community. Peg Crompton says she found out 3 years ago there was a high level of a cancer-causing chemical in her well water. Now she's discovered a filtering system isn't getting out all the trichloroethylene. The EPA has been monitoring the condition, but Crompton would like to see state Superfund dollars spent on public water lines. A DER spokesperson says that isn't likely.
As long as EPA has the lead on this, the department will continue to monitor and to collect information. And unless there was a change, I wouldn't be able to tell you whether or not the state would take over.
Roderick says the agency has not yet determined the source of that contamination.
Some people in an uptown Harrisburg.
Peg Crompton had lived in her home on Deardorff Drive only a year when she got an unpleasant surprise. High levels of trichloroethylene, a cancer-causing solvent, were discovered in her well water.
There have been some people on the street with health problems. You can't prove that it's the well water, but you can't help think about it when you have the problem.
Crompton bought a filter system for her water, but says the TCE contamination is still above allowable levels.
We have EPA out here, and they're testing our water and maintaining our filter systems, but what we'd really like to see from the agencies is a permanent solution, and we haven't.
Both the DER and the EPA say a cleanup here would be next to impossible. The reason is that no one can find a source of contamination. There are no leaking barrels or known underground storage tanks. The situation isn't unusual. In fact, it's the kind of problem environmental agencies run into all the time. It's also the case in Middlesex Township, where several residents have contaminated water. Residents in both situations would like to see state Superfund dollars spent to help them get public water.
It's difficult, at least at this point in time, or up to this point in time anyway, for the state to go in and pay to replace a large number of contaminated water supplies for people. We simply never had the funding.
The DER says even if the immediate health threats are removed, what to do for those whose groundwater is contaminated is still a major problem. Susan Hensel, News 21, Newberry Township.
Says nearly all of DER's lab testing is done in that closed building, and some projects are now being delayed.
In sports, the Philadelphia Flyers are behind the 8 ball once again.
And Hershey Bears coach John Paddock will assess the Bears' next opponent. Sports is next.
Jimmy, did you know your daddy is planning for your future?